So once you've placed the Panopto external learning tool in your pilot course and you've installed the Panopto for Mac recording software, you can go ahead and start with recording. So you'll navigate to the external learning tool each time, and then you'll click the green Create button and choose to record a new session. Now you'll do this rather than using the shortcut that may have been placed in your applications folder or put in your doc, because this way it passes your pilot login information. So you always want to go through this method to open Panopto's recording software. When you're using Chrome, when you hit record a new session, it may prompt you, you can click Launch Panopto, but it may prompt you with another window to get confirmation that you actually want to open Panopto. In Safari, if you were to do this, you'll get a pop-up when you click Launch Panopto or Open Panopto. A pop-up that asks you once again if you want to allow, you would choose to allow. And then finally in Firefox, if you choose to create and record a new session, when you hit the Launch Panopto, you'll get this little launch application pop-up asking you to confirm that you want to open the link. And you can choose to remember that choice so that it won't ask you anymore in the future. So go ahead and agree to that with whichever browser you're in. And what it will do is it will open the Panopto recorder. So this is the Panopto for Mac recorder that you should see. I'll walk through the different components here as succinctly as I can. But to start with, the thing you'll want to look at is up here at the top. You'll want to see which folder you're recording in. So by default, I can see I'm going into my Fall 2019 General Education 1050 Section 1. You always want to be aware of which folder you're recording in because you have access to multiple folders to record in for different courses, as well as your own personal folder called My Folder. So it's not uncommon to make a recording and accidentally upload it to the wrong folder and have your students not see what you uploaded even though you know you recorded a video. So before doing anything, make sure it's going into the correct folder. Here for session name, this is just the title of the video. By default, it just gives it a timestamp, but you can title it here or you can title it later, whatever the name of this particular recording is. Down here, we have our primary source settings. So you can see by default that it has video that I'm going to be recording of myself on my web camera, and it has audio as well. Video is nice. It's kind of a good luxury for making your videos more engaging and more personable for your students, in addition to whatever presentation materials you're recording. But if you're recording from home, I would strongly recommend setting this to none. So you can click this from the drop-down and select none. The reason I recommend that is because if you're working from home, the upload speeds are much more restrictive than if you were uploading from campus. If you knew you were going to be uploading from campus, I would say record video, but otherwise it can take a very long time because of the restrictive upload speeds. In addition to having the ability to record a web camera, you can actually choose your primary video source as either an external USB web camera, or if you have a document camera, you can select that as well. So if I click from this drop-down menu, I can choose USB camera, and that is a web camera that I have mounted kind of like a document camera. So you'll get a peek here once it shows me the preview. And here. So this is just a web camera that I've set up like a document camera. And this allows you, if you would prefer to be writing, then you can do that on this paper and replace the paper as you're writing if you're more comfortable with that, as opposed to just using like a PowerPoint or showing materials on your computer screen. So this is an option. But for now, what I'm going to be doing is I will select my camera just because I want you to see what it's going to look like when you have multiple video sources. But again, I would recommend, if you're working from home, just setting it up with this set to none and just recording your screen. Audio is the most important part in getting this recording right. So you want to make sure that your microphone is set properly. And the way you'll know is if you see these green LED meters jumping up and down responding to your voice. If you don't see that, then you might want to click on this drop down and see if you have another selection. If you're using an iMac or you're using a MacBook, then built-in microphone is probably what it's going to be set to. I have this external microphone that I use, and so you want to make sure this is set correctly. If you see this filling up where it is, for me right now, it's about 1/3 of the way or halfway filling up into the green, and you just saw hello test, you saw it jump into the yellow, that's okay. You kind of want to stay away from that if you can. If you see it going all the way to the end here into the red, you definitely want to move further away from the mic, or you'll want to change your input settings, because if it's going into the red, it's going to sound distorted and it's going to sound really bad on the student's end when they listen back to the lecture. You can change that input source by clicking on the Apple icon, going to System Preferences, choosing Sound, and then it might be set on Input or Output or Sound Effects. You want to go to Input because that's where the microphones are. And then you want to try your internal microphone by default, probably, unless you have like a USB headset or you have an external mic. And this input volume slider lets you make things a little more quiet. So if it is jumping into the red and you can't get any further away from the mic, you can slide this input slider down so that it's not distorting. So I'll go ahead and close this for now. Okay, so again, your microphone input is the most important part of this recording. Down here, I have the option to capture computer audio. That's basically any sounds that might come from the computer. So if you have videos in your presentation, those are computer sounds. But also, if you have your email up and you get notifications, any kind of dings for new emails, then those sounds will also be captured. I generally recommend not capturing this. And if you have videos that you show in your presentation, then I would provide those links in Pilot. The Panopto video editor, the web editor, does allow you to insert YouTube video links after the fact. And there's a video that walks through that process as well. I would generally discourage you from showing videos on YouTube and just adding them later as links or in the Panopto video editor, because this is going to put your computer processor through a lot more work and could compromise the recording if you're recording for a long time. Down here, I have some of my additional sources I can choose. So I can choose to record a PowerPoint if you're doing that, or a Keynote if you use Keynote for your presentation slides. So I'm going to check PowerPoint for now. Then the next piece here are my secondary sources. So that's this area over here. And you'll see I can have up to 2 secondary sources. I can jump between these two. So for secondary source 1, the source is actually listed down here, and it's showing built-in display. And what that is it's my entire computer monitor. It's everything I'm looking at right now. It's my whole screen. You can't limit, like you can in Camtasia, to just a small portion of the screen, so you can use a marquee and make it, just one window. You can't do that with this recorder. It just is going to record your entire screen. So before you record, I would recommend making sure that any personal information that you have up is minimized or closed. Anything you don't want students seeing, I would recommend hiding, because it's going to record everything on your screen. And then secondary, again, you can choose all kinds of sources. So I could have my web camera that acts as a document camera. I could have that recording. I could have video of me recording, of my webcam. And then I could have PowerPoint. You can get pretty complex with this. But again, I would not recommend doing any of that if you're doing this all from home, because the upload speeds are going to be so slow. I think it's best for now, if you're working remotely, to just not use any of your cameras and to just be recording your screen. So I'm going to set my secondary source to back to none. I'm going to go to secondary 1. So it's recording my built-in display. That's my screen. And just as a demo, I am going to show you what the player looks like when it records these two sources. So I've got everything set up as I need. Before you hit record, what you want to do is you want to get all your materials ready that you're going to need to use for your presentation. Just as if you were going into the classroom to lecture to your students, you want to get all your materials ready in advance. So I'll minimize this, and I can navigate in Pilot to, let's say, okay, I'm in week 1. I want to use my week 1 PowerPoint presentation. I wouldn't recommend presenting it in the browser. I would recommend downloading it. So you can click this and you can download. And then let's say I also, okay, here I'm going to save my file. I'm going to get that ready. And then let's say I have another website I want to bring up. Okay, so I'm going to bring the CTL website up because I need to bring up some information about this for students. And then I can go down here into my downloads, open my PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so I have my presentation ready, and just to show you kind of all the different options we'll have here, or what you might anticipate needing to do. Let's say I have a Word document as well here, so I'll download that and get that ready. So now that I have my materials, I've got my Word document for the syllabus, I've got my PowerPoint, I've got my website already. Now I'll go back to my recorder, which is this green kind of recycling icon appearance. I'll bring that back up, and now I can get to recording my lecture. So as soon as I hit record, it's going to get going, and then I'll just minimize this window and go into the materials that I have for my lecture. So I'll hit record, and I wait until I get confirmation that I see this timer elapsing. Once you see that turn red and you get your stop pause button, just minimize it, don't close it, minimize it, and then go into your presentation. So I'll go into full screen slideshow mode here. And so yeah, so this is the week 1 slide. What you'll see is each one of these title text boxes will appear as a chapter marker in the table of contents. So when I advance to the next slide, week 1 overview, that will be the next chapter in this table of contents for the video, which will make a little more sense when you see the player. So I'm going over my course objectives, syllabus information, giving an example of a course objective here. One would be to learn to spell the word objective, and then I will learn Panopto for Mac recording software. Hopefully you can differentiate between Panopto, the external learning tool that you put in Pilot, and Panopto's recording software. So I can get out of there. Let's say I'm now going over a Word document for students. This is all being captured. And then again, I'm recording my screen, so it's seeing everything here. It's going to see my website, my resources. If you do have any questions about Panopto, you can go to the resources, and it's under tutorials, or there's also tutorials here, and you will find Panopto tutorials down here. And this will look a little bit different when you navigate to the website. There will be more information available. So yeah, so that's the end of my presentation. I will now go back to the dock and click Panopto again, and I'll hit stop on the recording. So when I hit stop, it's going to ask me to confirm the session name. If I don't like what I did, it's going to ask me to delete and record again. Or if I'm happy, I'll just hit upload to complete this. What it's going to do, I'll point out really quickly here, this is going to take me out of recording mode in the recorder, and it's going to take me to this manage recordings section as soon as I hit upload. So I hit it. It's showing that it's uploading right now. It's giving me a percentage. The longer your video, the longer it's going to take to upload. This process is just taking the video files from your computer and it's moving it to Panopto's servers. So that process for your longer videos will take longer. So I generally encourage you to keep your lectures limited. If you have a 1-hour lecture, I would encourage you to break it up into smaller pieces for your students, maybe in 10 to 20 minute segments at the most, I would say. And then that way you can ensure it's not going to take forever for it to upload, and shorter videos are just more engaging for your students. So once it's uploaded, it will then process. Processing takes all that data that it uploaded to the Panopto server, and it just converts it to other file types that will be able to stream as video in your students' browsers. This process also takes a little bit of time. It takes more time based on how long your recording is, so this processing shouldn't take too long for us. But for a longer video, if it is 20 minutes, then it might take 5 or 10 minutes to process. And again, we're in the managed recordings area of this. If I want to go back to creating a new recording, I can click this, and now I'm back in the recorder. And you can jump back and forth between these two. So if I click on managed recordings, it just takes me back here. I can see the status of my video. Now what I can do is I can actually navigate back to Panopto, and we will see this new recording here pinned up at the top. When it's grayed out, that means it's still processing, so it's not viewable yet. As soon as it turns blue, that means it's a clickable hyperlink that you can open up and watch. It processes a few different file types, so you can still click it and watch it while it's processing the podcast version. But I'll go ahead and click this, and you'll see what the video player looks like. So you can see over here on the left, I have my primary source, if you have multiple sources, and then I have my secondary source over here on the right window. If I hit play, you'll see both are playing simultaneously. If I'm a student watching this and I want to just focus only on this video source, I can click this full screen and it will take the primary source to the full screen. I can get out of this by clicking this button, and then let's say I just want to go full screen on this, on the screen recording. I can do that, hit play. So you can see I can navigate along the timeline here, and then I'll move my mouse back up here to get out of full screen. You can also switch these. You'll see these two arrows pointing either direction. So I can switch from primary to secondary source. Go ahead and pause. And so here you will also see, as I mentioned, a table of contents. So my week 1 slide, if I click that, you'll see it will take me to 21 seconds because that's when I started presenting in my video. If I click week 1 overview, it will jump to 38 seconds into the presentation because that's when I was on the week 1 overview slide. And then same with course objective. It's 51 seconds into the presentation, and so that jumps ahead there. That's only if you're using a PowerPoint. If you're just going through, or also a Keynote, but if you're just going through and showing things on a website, if you're just doing software demonstrations, then it's not going to import this table of contents automatically. You can see it's pulling the data. So example, of course, objective, that's a title text box, so it knows to import that data from the PowerPoint. You can manually edit and create this table of contents in the video editor. But this is the basic recording interface, the player interface rather. So this is what the player looks like. I can close this tab, navigate back out, and so you'll see here's my new video pinned at the top of my folder via the external learning tool.